Hello, chefs. This is Chef's PSA, and I'm your host, André Natera. Today, I'm joined by Chef Jorge Luis Hernández, corporate chef for Emmer and Rye Hospitality Group and director of culinary innovation and R&D across Emmer and Rye, Hestia, Nicosi, and Isidore. Shaped by time at places like Minibar by José Andrés, and now driving Michelin-recognized kitchens in Texas. In this episode, we talk about culinary innovation, mentorship, building processes through mistakes, and how storytelling and collaboration push food forward. Stay tuned. Great restaurants don't always bring customers in. Great stories do. Because in food, beverage, and hospitality, what you sell is only part of the story. It's the why behind it, the authority you create, and the experience that you build. Market Scale turns expertise into content that connects. Podcasts, video series, and industry education. Not ads, assets. Market Scale has brought Run the Pass and How to Manage Like an Executive Chef to life. Real-world examples of how great content leads the conversation. Because attention is earned, and the industry doesn't need more noise, it needs more leaders. You're, at the time, the chef at Minibar for José Andrés, 2 Michelin stars, and you think to yourself, I think I'm going to go turn in my notice. I want to know, how was the conversation when you sat Jose down and said, hey, just so you know, I don't want to do this anymore?
It was something I thought about for a really long time before doing it. And then actually I did a dry run with Ruben Garcia, the creative director. He kind of made me feel okay about it. But I think the crazy thing is, like, I was so scared. Like, that had been my home for so long. And I was worried. I was like, am I going to let Chef down? And he wasn't upset, like, not at all. He was like, of course you're going to go home, right? Because it's like, he wants us to be where our heart is. That all that anticipation and anxiety I had about it, I put in like 4 months notice because I want to make sure the team's good, right? Not rush anything. And he's like, yeah, enjoy it, right? Because like when he had hired me at Minibar the second time, right? Because I've worked for him twice there. He was like, yeah, I'm going to let you have Minibar for a little bit, but remember, it's mine, right? Like, that's his house.
Yeah.
And it really is to be a chef de cuisine at Minibar. You're a curator, right, of this just amazing legacy of this restaurant that has only had a handful of head chefs over the years.
Yeah.
For me to have done that twice in my career is just like, I still pinch myself, the idea of doing it. And that place will always feel like home. But I think like the best thing I can say about somebody like Jose is that he's not scared to let people go be who they are. Leaving him isn't a bad thing for him. Mm-hmm. It's a go out in the world and do what we do and continue to touch people and make those connections. If that's not the sign of a great mentor, a great leader, a great chef, then I don't know what is, right? You can plot how many amazing chefs worked for Jose or with Jose across the country, across the globe sometimes, right? Like, that's impact, right? Like, I all wish we can be a chef like that and say like, all right, my former sous, my former head chefs are off doing amazing things. That's his point of view. And it's like one of those things where I know if I needed to, I could give him a call and he would give me the advice. He knows that if he needed me, if he's in Austin, he can call me and ask me for anything,
right?
Which he has done before. Right?
Yeah, you were telling me that he did for the Snowpocalypse we had.
Yeah, Snowpocalypse. Yeah, with the World Central Kitchen, it was like we kind of just started talking. He's like, let's activate, let's go. And immediately his team's on the ground. We're making connections, and that's the way World Central Kitchen works, right? It's just really beautiful thing. That chef mentality of like, here's a problem, let's solve it, let's go now, right? Let's go fast.
What's interesting about that World Central Kitchen, specifically in Austin, because this is the only time I've experienced and seen how they move, is I got the phone call, I want to say like at midnight, and they said, can you have, I don't remember the numbers, like 500 box lunches tomorrow at 10 a.m. or whatever it was. And I was like, Jose's, I was like, yeah, I'd figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
So I remember, we just gathered the troops. I don't remember what we were putting in the box lunches, like grilled cheese sandwiches, whatever. There wasn't a whole lot of food, at the time.
Sure.
But it was quick and the ability, okay, we're going to have a truck there at this time. And I was like, wow, within 24 hours, they had trucks, they had volunteers, they had people, they had box lunches, they had drop off points. It was wild. It was interesting to see. And I've never met Jose. But I know he had passed through and was like, and I didn't get a chance to say hello or whatever, but it was really impressive to see how that World Central Kitchen operates and how he's able to just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And then he calls you call someone, and boom, people are moving.
That's the heart of what World Central Kitchen does well. They mobilize by having connections, right? So there's an entire chef core team right there where the team is reaching out to chefs in different regions where maybe we don't need you right now, but maybe someday we do.
Yeah.
Right? Like building those networks is just absolutely massive. But like I remember like when Jose was World Central Kitchen in Haiti in the early days, the beauty of it was just his mentality of like, I'm a chef. If there's a problem, I know how to solve problems. That's what we do on a daily basis in our kitchens and our restaurants. It's like, and I know how to cook and I know how to connect to people. Put all those things together and start building networks. And now it's something that's just obviously mind blowing.
Did you work with Barton Seaver with Jose?
I didn't work directly with him, but when I started as an intern for Jose, Barton was like the hot shit chef in DC. In Georgetown, he had a restaurant called Hook.
That's right.
He was a TA in the fish department when I was in culinary school, and I just missed him there. But like he was like legendary in the DC scene, and he had worked for Jose before. So I loved going to his restaurant. We would do like events that he was doing. I would go volunteer to be like extra hands at. And one year at the CIA, he did a demo, and I was running the Sustainable Ag Group at the time. Yeah. So I'm like, I want to invite Barton to come do this demo, and he's butchering fish and slices his finger like mid butchery. And the pro that he is, he just keeps going. He keeps going. Everybody sees a little bit of blood there. Yeah. But yeah, he's badass human being.
Well, it's funny because we were talking about you, Barton, and he told me the story, but I couldn't remember if you sliced your hand or he sliced his hand. But he had shared the story. He just put out a book with Andrew Zimmern. Yeah. And he was here the other day doing a book sign. I was trying to catch up with him to get him on the show, but we couldn't align our schedules. But he had a lot of really great things to say about you.
Yeah, I mean, he was honestly one of the first chefs that I met that was like, all right, a chef who's cooking in a kitchen can also be involved in their community with social impact. Yeah. Right? With in Barton's case, with ecological impact, political impact in that regard. And that, what we do shows up on the plate, but who we are is always going to show up.
He said something to me years ago, and I'm paraphrasing, and I'm not sure if it's exactly what he said. And that's why I was hoping to get him on the podcast, because I remember when he said it, it kind of like made my wheels turn like, wait, is that true? And he said that the most unsustainable practices in the ocean are better than the most sustainable land practices. Yeah, because of the amount of resources. You don't need water. You don't need to water the fish
for sure.
And the amount of water that goes into just growing one vegetable. And I remember when he said that. And again, I might be paraphrasing that. I don't know if that's exactly what he said, but I just remember it blew my mind. But yeah, he's a legend. Shout out to Barton Seaver.
Yeah. I mean, just
because that incorporates into a lot of what you guys do now.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, we're using some of the first proper farm-raised oysters in the Gulf of Mexico, right? Let's say it that way, Gulf of Mexico. Not that long ago, you couldn't have aquaculture in forms of oysters in the Gulf. It had to be wild caught, right?
Right.
Those oysters get a really bad reputation, right? And now people like Blackjack Points are like our favorite right now, and AJ's doing a badass job doing aquaculture with oysters. And those things are not just delicious, like they rival oysters on the East Coast to me, for sure, like in every regard now. And they're coming from the Gulf of Mexico, and they're cleaning the water, right? They're doing double duty.
Yeah.
Right? If everyone in Texas ate more oysters like that, we'd be in a great spot.
Not to get too far off subject, but only because I'm thinking about the 2 Michelin stars that was at Minibar. You're the chef there. And now, congratulations to you and the entire Emmer and Rye hospitality team, because I don't know if I've spoken to Kevin or Tavel or anyone else since the most recent Michelin Awards, but you guys cleaned up.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad night.
Yeah, so Nicosi got a star, Isidore got a star,
And a green star.
Yeah. Plus Emmer has
green star
and Hestia also
star.
1 star. So you're walking away with 3 stars for the group and 2 green stars. Is that correct?
Yeah, and a couple bib gourmands as well for Ladino, and then Emmer got a bib gourmand as well. So, and a couple mentions. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah. And for people that don't know, you guys are talent-packed group.
For sure.
Yeah. I said that to Kevin and Tavel both when they've been on the shows. Like, man, there's so much talent in your group. It's impressive.
Yeah.
It's impressive. But so where I was going with this is, okay, so there's chef chatter, right? So, everyone starts talking, everyone has opinions, and a lot of people have the opinion of a star in one city is not the same as a star in a different city. You've been a 2-star chef and a 1-star chef in 2 different cities.
Right.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think the star is the star, right? Like I would put up what we're doing at Nicosi to akin to what we would do at Minibar, right? Like I'm the chef that I am. Now I think the thing is, at the end of the day, there's great food everywhere. Mm-hmm. There's great chefs everywhere. Getting the recognition is about having the resources, putting the right things in play, right? Like what Kevin Fink is great at, and he and I talked about this last month, I think. I was like, Kevin, you're great at putting the right people in the right room together at the right time. That's where the magic happens, right? It is getting talent, getting them the resources to be authentically who they are, right? That shows up with recognition, right? 2 stars in DC to me, like, I don't know who the first 2-star restaurant in Texas is going to be. I know that we're not chasing stars, but I know that I also want to be that first 2-star.
Yeah.
Right?
Were you the first 2-star in DC?
No, at the same time, it was Pineapple and Pearls.
Did they had 2?
Washington and us all got 2 stars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we were in a small rarefied company, but pretty amazing company.
Yeah, great company.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, back to the difference, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so I'm a young chef in San Antonio, Texas, right? I was very fortunate to meet a chef named Bruce Auden at Bega on the Banks, and he let me work there in the summers when I was still deciding whether or not I was going to culinary school. That experience I'm still extremely grateful for, and Bruce and I get to chat quite regularly now. But I remember that point where I was like, no, I have to go to New York. Like, I have to go somewhere where the level is up here. Otherwise, like, I don't want to half-ass this. I want to go 100% in on this dream that I have. And at the time, it was like, if that's where all the Michelin star restaurants, that's where all the amazing chefs are, that's where I'm going to learn the most, that's where I want to be, right? Those options weren't available to us in San Antonio. And not that there weren't great restaurants, but like not at that level, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and that was, when I started culinary school, that was 2005, something like that, right? 20 years later, right? If you're a young chef like I was, or you're thinking about becoming a chef, you don't have to go to New York anymore. You can stay in San Antonio, stay in Austin, and go work with Michelin-level chefs in Michelin kitchens, right? That's badass, right? Like,
and not just Texas though, but also the South, New Orleans, right? It now opened it up Atlanta. Well, you don't have to go everywhere.
So if we're gonna go from this thing of like, well, the real Michelin-level restaurants are the ones in these major cities, and it's kind of a shame that it's getting watered down by having more guides, like. That's not being watered down. That's being more equitable. That's opening it up. If everywhere has the opportunity to shoot for the same criteria, right? Like, it's not like New York, watch out, we're coming for you. It's just like there can be amazing chefs and amazing food in Texas or, Louisiana, just like there can be. I mean, Louisiana, New Orleans, are you kidding me?
Yeah, right.
Like one of the greatest food towns in the world. Why shouldn't there be as many stars there as there are in New York?
I was talking to someone the other day that's opening a hotel here in Texas, and they're talking about the licensed celebrity chef restaurant. And we had this a lot in Dallas. We've had it a lot in Houston. We've had it a lot in Austin. Not as much in Austin, but you bring in the big name celebrity chef, Michelin-Level from California or New York, and then they open up their offshoot restaurant in Texas, and it's usually license based in a hotel, and it normally doesn't perform that well. And a lot of the reason is sometimes outsiders aren't necessarily welcomed, but to the investment group, the hotel or whoever's the money behind it, they just see we need a Michelin level chef, and this completely changes the game and creates a whole new area of opportunities for chefs, because now if you are in Atlanta and you're opening a hotel, you don't need to bring in a celebrity chef from one of the coasts. You have Michelin level chefs in Georgia now, in Texas, in the Carolinas, wherever. And I think that opens up a whole new conversation and areas of opportunity for restaurant groups to scale in ways that maybe they could scale, but eventually they might hit a wall of limitation. This is a whole new area, and I think it's pretty cool. And kudos to all you guys.
Thanks.
With the group, because it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, it is a team that is stacked like no other, right? Like, I'm experienced from all over the world, people with different backgrounds, different skill sets that complement each other. The team aspect of what we do within 11 restaurants, it's like everybody in the room's a badass. Mm-hmm. That feels pretty freaking good.
Yeah. Does it ever get competitive ugly?
Oh, hell yeah, we're competitive. Of course we're competitive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, one of the things we talk about that's really, really fun is expediting a busy service at Emmer and Rye, which, like, granted, I'm kind of one of the newbies on the team, and some of Kevin's team has been with them for almost a decade, right? And we talk about all the similarities of like how fun and hard it is to expo at Emmer. You've eaten at Emmer, right? Like, and it's like one of those things where if you're on expo, you're not standing at expo and just wiping plates, and you are moving. It is a full workout, and it is a hell of a lot of fun. Yeah. And when we started getting really busy at Isidore, some of those old Emmer chefs were like, "Oh, we're taking turns expoing at Isidore." After the New York Times article came out, this was right before Michelin, and we're competing about who's got the best expo. And we go tell the line cooks afterwards, be like, "Do you like me better? Do you like Chef Parker better?" They're like, "Chef, we love your energy. You're great. You're amazing." He's like, "But Chef Parker's the best expo in the company." And you're like, so yeah, we're competitive. Yeah. Like that's kind of how it goes.
What does the creative process look like specifically for you? And the reason I ask specifically for you, because I'm sure, Kevin has his method, Tavel, I'm sure, has his method. You have a different method, but a lot of the method, I'm sure that you've, it's unique to your personality, but it's also unique to time spent in different kitchens.
Yeah. I'm going to use Nicosi as like the reference, because that's like the smallest environment that we have, 20-seat restaurant, tasting menu only. And it is, to me, this little incubator or lab of process. Mm-hmm. Now, when I worked for Jose, I was super, super fortunate to work with two of the best chefs I've ever met in my life, Ruben Garcia and Aitor Zavala. Mm. So Aitor now has Somni in LA, 3 stars. Ruben has his own little restaurant empire in DC now as well, Casa Teresa. But both of them are proper Bouilly alumni, right? Both did R&D work on both pastry and savory sides. Learning from them is the root of the methodology that I still use, right? People obviously still look at the Adria brothers as like this great force. And I think for all the photos and all the food and all the crazy techniques, the process that they had is probably the most impactful for me. And it's something that I still use. Mm. And actually, it's interesting you say like the difference between Kevin, Tavel, myself. Like, yeah, we have all differences, but the core is where we align, and that's where that magic happens. To me, the heart of it on the kitchen side is where product meets concept via method and technique. And I know that sounds kind of nerdy and heady, but I'll give you
nerdy
more,
and get
right?
heady. Yeah, please.
Like, if you ask Tavel, like, what's your process and what is the most important part? he's going to start over here and say what the guest is experiencing is the most important part, right? Now, in El Bulli language, Ferran would have called this techno-emotive cuisine, right? We're not doing techniques just to do techniques. We're exploring things, but the purpose is to make somebody feel something, to give them an experience that is uniquely belonging to that restaurant, that meal, in that moment. That's what Tavel does all up here. It's brilliant. I mean, the man's a genius. For me, I need worksheets, I need laptops, I need research, I need all this stuff to get there. But it starts with conversations, right? So Nicosi, for example, we set themes for each menu, right? This past summer, our theme was something really fun and playful because it's hot as heck in summer and tends to be a little bit slower in the restaurant. So we really wanted to make sure people were having fun. So it was summertime nostalgia. And every course had its own little sub-theme under that. And the idea was to make people giggle, right? Make people have a little bit of fun. From there, we take the products that are in season, right? Because Emmer and Rye Group, right? We are 100% looking at where things are coming from. If we can value a product from our region, we're going to always do that first. If our farmers have a potential problem of waste, they need to move something, we are going to use those ingredients every single time, right? So that does some of the work for us, honestly, right? Because then you're looking at the product and you're saying, all right, what are we going to do with this, right? Like, I will say that from my side, one of my pet peeves and one of the things I just really dislike is when someone says, oh, well, we need a new beet set. Let's put on a new beet dish tomorrow. Let's come in and we're just going to cook it and we're going to put it on. That drives me bananas because you're not getting the most out of that product that way, right? What you should be saying is, what do we want someone to feel out of it? Do we want the beet to have this texture? Do we want it to be smoky, this flavor profile? What do you want that end result to be? And then are you looking at the techniques and the methods you're using to get there, right? That search is everything to me. And to get there, if you have beets on the menu or you're going to work with beets, you have to look at that beet like you've never seen a beet before, right? Jose used to do this thing, like we would go out to the farmer's market and he would grab a tomato. And like there's a film of him, I think, doing this with Bourdain, where he looks at the tomato. And I'm not going to do a fake Spanish accent because I won't do it accurately enough. But he would look at the tomato and be like, tomato, what do you want to be today? And that like Zen mind, beginner's mind thing is just so incredibly important because then you're going to start exploring methods, right? Like stick with a beet, for example. Are you burying it in the hearth? Are you putting it in the oven? Are you cooking it in beet juice? Are you doing it in a sous vide bag, right? Are you doing partial steam, dry heat? Like all those infinite variations, that's all technique, right? The method is the method, right? Like, so when I say, if you're going to braise something, right? A braise is a braise, right? That method has a language that we all as chefs know what it is. Now you can do a braise on a stovetop. You can do a braise in an oven. You can do a braise in a sous vide bag. That's all technique, the little equipment that you're using to get there. That's where the fun stuff is. But everybody thinks like, okay, yeah, you're having all the fun with R&D. Like there's a whole part of it that's not fun too. Like it's extremely methodical. All right, we tried that one. We tried that one. We tried that one. Where is the point where you're like, wow, this is special? That's the point you have to look for.
Can I interrupt?
Please.
How do you go around doing that process? So if you are working, and let's just use the beet as the example. Sure. You have some beets, and you're like, I want to maximize the flavor of this beet, and I'm going to go through different iterations of the beet. You talked about spreadsheets and laptops.
Yeah.
What do you do? So let's walk us through that.
We have a lot, and again, it comes from Bulli world, right? Like fichas or worksheets. So for every ingredient that comes in, we create a separate worksheet of saying these are the characteristics. It's like a product spec sheet, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not a new thing for chefs. But then it's like, all right, I cooked the beets in water. I cooked them dry. I cooked them in beet juice, peeled, not peeled. All of those things get a different worksheet. And we file them all away so that next year when beets come in season, gram gift beats pretty much all the time, right? Because it's celery.
Yeah.
It's maybe like the worst example.
Yeah. We'll put strawberries and goat cheese on it.
Right. Well, that's exactly it, right? Like that's what we want to avoid.
Right.
What we want to avoid is we're going to put on a beet dish and it's going to have goat cheese and strawberries and fennel fronds. Those tertiary flavors, like making something taste good, that should be the easy part, right? If you're a chef and you're good at your shit, making something tasty should be assumed, especially at our level.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? We're not serving not delicious food. That's not an option, right? The clever part and the part that is really the most magical is when you get to that point of trying all those different things and you're like, hey, well, this is unique. I haven't had a beet like this before, right? And whether or not that's nixtamalizing the beet and then roasting it, whatever it is for you and your team that lets you say something in the end product, that's where people are going to respond to it. That's where the real fun is. Now, again, recording all that data is important. Collaboration is the other part. And the reason why we really use all of those sheets and all of these things, it's not to just make more work for ourselves because it's cumbersome. It's hard. It's so that teams can collaborate. So that if I'm working on this new technique of beets, whatever form it is, that Paul Wenzel, the head chef at Hestia, can, in our Google Drive, see those results and be like, huh, cool, maybe I can use that. Or even better, he can be like, you know what, chef, you should try this. And maybe he unlocks something that we don't know, right? That ability to collaborate only comes if you're extremely organized. And like we said, like we have all that talent. It would be silly for me to be like, all right, me, Jorge, I'm going to work on a beet dish and I'm going to assume that I'm going to get it to 100% perfect Michelin star level all by myself. That's arrogant as fuck. When I could say, I'm going to give it to Danny Parada to taste. I'm going to give it to Tavel to taste. I'm going to give it to our porters to taste, right? They're going to give me feedback. I need that data because they're going to tell me something that maybe I hadn't thought of. But if I'm already set in, this is the way the dish is going to look. These are the tertiary flavors that are going to, and the garnishes. I'm skipping over the best part. I'm pigeonholing myself into something that maybe could have been a lot better, right? I'll give you a specific example for Nicosi, right? We had, for a very short period of time, white sweet potatoes. And initially, we were going to do like a fried, almost like savory snack with these beets. So we get in an S peeler and start shaving up, cooking beets different way. And we literally, Tavel and I pick up the sheet, we look at it, and we see all these little striations in it. We're like, that's beautiful. Let's do something with that. Like, let's play around with it. So we had poached them, we had steamed them, we tried cooking it like phyllo dough, and I put some in the oven that had been soaked in a little bit of like mauby bark syrup, which is really bitter tree ingredient, kind of like cinnamon, from Guyana, where Chef Tavel is from. One of the most delicious things you'll ever have, intensely bitter, right? So a little bit goes a long way. I pop these bad boys in the oven, and then Tavel and I are doing our thing. We're brainstorming, we're talking, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot about them, right? I didn't set my timer or whatever the heck. I go out and pull them out, and I lift up the silpat, and they're dark. They're dark, and I'm like, well, these are burnt. So to kind of like hide my mistake, I start peeling them off because I don't want Chef to see it, right? And then I realized, I'm like, oh, this texture's cool.
What was the texture?
It was still pliable, right? Because there's enough residual starch in the sweet potato. But we had also like let it soak in syrup. So then by the time I finished rolling it, it got super crispy, like perfectly crispy. And because I had kind of like put it in this mauby bark and let it go maybe a little too far, it looked exactly like a cinnamon stick. Like exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So mauby bark looks like cinnamon stick.
Sure.
This little accident that I had looked like a cinnamon stick. I go and I show it to Tavel, and he eats it, and he's like, I'm like, yeah, it's maybe a little bit too bitter. He's like, not for the bitter course, it's not, right? Because we have an entire course in Nicosi that's devoted to the bitter taste profile. And then I eat one, he eats one again. We don't say anything for a couple of minutes. and we're both smiling. And that's that magical part that I'm talking about. When you can find that wow part of a product to a technique, then coming up with the dish is so easy, right? We dusted it with a little bit of cacao powder, a little bit more spices, and then I made like a sweet potato toffee, aerated it, piped it in the middle, and served it like you were biting into a cinnamon stick, and it was one of the most intense, delicious bites we had on that menu. And it's coming from exploration. It's coming from allowing yourself to realize, hey, this little thing that's not a dish yet has got potential. Let's fuck around with that, right? Like when you see myself, Ben, our R&D chef, Danny, our corporate chef in San Antonio, director of restaurants, Tabel, when we're cooking and just messing with things, it's kind of chaotic, right? And then we have to reorganize ourselves every day. But there's at least a few spots in each one of those days where we're giving each other something to taste, and we're like, no, yeah, this is something. Maybe we don't know what it is yet, but this is something. And that I feel like is, again, it's the organization, it's the collaboration, it's the language, right? I think what we do really well is we give ourselves a language on how to talk about creating dishes, right? And then you have somebody like Tavel that's like, all right, well, what is the guest experiencing? Because you can't forget that part, right? And it's not that different. Like, you know, Aitor and Ruben used to do the same thing.
Can you talk about the language? You said,
for sure.
You said we give ourselves a language.
For sure. So there's the idea, and actually this came about when I was at Minibar. A roommate of mine for a little bit was an engineer at Johnson Space Center, and he was up in DC just doing an extra course. And he was telling me about NASA's criteria or stage development criteria. When they're developing a new technology, they do it in stages. And they set exit criteria for each stage, right? Like, and I think they have like 9 stages, right? We started saying like, well, how do we know that something is good at each of these levels so we don't waste our time? You have to start asking yourselves questions. And those answers are what give us the language. So if we talk about themes or things that we want people to feel, experiences, sorry, I'm switching sides. I know it's experiences over here. And then we have some kind of end goals. So there's some criteria there on that emotive side, right? We then know, again, the products that are coming in from the farms, because like it's not like, oh, it'd be great if we could buy, you know, yuzu from Japan, because it's not an option for us in Emmer and Rye Group, right? We take that off the table. Once we have those themes, we have some things we want to say. It's brainstorming.
Can I go back?
Yeah, please.
When you say you can't buy yuzu from Japan, it's not an option for the Emmer and Rye Group. Can you tell people why?
Because we are always going to try to put our food purchasing dollars back into our immediate community. And we're pretty transparent about it, right? Farm to table is not new, right? It's a thing, right? All restaurants are like that. We just put certain limits on ourselves, right? And every restaurant in the group's got slightly different criteria, right? If you're Isidore, everything in that restaurant, with the exception of on the beverage side, like the wine side, needs to be coming from a small independent regional producer in Texas, right? And that means they don't use black pepper, right? Instead, they use Vitex plant, right? Something that our chef's cuisine goes out and forages. Right?
So like the little flowers?
Yeah, well, this is actually the little berry on it that we then harvest when they're green and then dry to use like peppercorns.
Okay.
That's a very Noma-esque
Which is like
thing, right?
a Texas plant that you guys are foraging.
Yeah. So wherever we can, we do that, right? Vanilla bean, like Tavel would be like, all right, no vanilla, no problem. Mesquite bean, baby. It's delicious. And it's a progenitor to vanilla bean, right? Like they're all from the Central Valley of Mexico.
Do you ever, and I'm just kind of making this up, are there exceptions?
There are definitely exceptions, right? So Nicosi, there has to be, right? Like chocolate doesn't grow in Texas.
Right. which is why I was asking about the exceptions.
Yeah, for sure. Hestia has certain exceptions. Kanji obviously has exceptions because it's Caribbean food. They need things from the Caribbean, right? Emmer and Rye and Isidore are the two that are probably the most stringent. Hestia is a close third. At the end of the day, it's about, Pullman Market, right? Same thing. It's about giving more credence and giving more value to things that maybe people don't even know grow in Texas, right? Nicosi, during apple season, we always have an apple dish on in a different form, right? drastically different apple dishes. But the majority of people don't think of Texas as a state that even grows apples. Right?
I don't.
Up in Idalou, Texas, top of Texas, are they
good?
They're delicious.
What are they similar to?
So they have Evercrisps. Their Evercrisps are off the chain. Their Fujis are great. They're like any other small producing region, right? Like there's a year where like, hey, the Granny Smiths aren't our favorite. This one's our favorite. This is what we're going to use and focus on. But at least for us at Emmer and Rye Group, we are always going to be supporting that farm with our food purchasing dollars, because if we don't, then what incentive is for those farmers to keep trying to grow more? Mm-hmm. We can always bemoan the fact that California's got better growing seasons, better regions, but if we're not putting our dollars or guest dollars and translating that into pockets of farmers, then what motivation do they have to keep growing cool shit for us, right? That's really the heart of it. Selfishly, as a chef, we want more local farms growing more amazing things.
Yeah.
Right? Speckle Belly Farm, just east of San Antonio, is growing finger limes in their hothouse right now. Mm-hmm. Right? They're freaking delicious. They're growing lime plots for us, like it's citrus season that's like popping off. And right now, they can only grow this tiny amount. But if we're like, all right, well, that's not enough for us, and we need to supplement it with ones from California or wherever else, those finger limes are coming from, and I'm not giving them those dollars, then what incentive do they have to keep going, keep upping that production so that more people can buy it, right? And that's why Pullman Market exists, right? We've all had those experiences where you go to a restaurant and someone's like, oh, this is this heritage Duroc pork that only we get from this small farm, and that's a really romantic story.
Yeah.
You know what's a hell of a lot cooler is when you can tell a guest, this is the best pork that we can get in our region. It's delicious. You're going to love it. And you know what? You can go 100 feet that way to a butcher shop that only gets in whole animals from the exact same farm, and you can buy the exact same product, and you can go cook with it at home, right? That starts to imprint in our guests' minds, these products are of value, and it's okay for me to pay more for them, right? Because we know where it's going.
In your job, because I know we talked a lot about the creative process and the R&D, but there's also an aspect of the operational R&D. So, okay, now you've created the dish and you can execute it for one,
right?
And the group likes it. Now, how do you scale it to Emmer and Rye doing 100, or hundreds of covers?
Sure. So again, and part of the reason we document so much is because maybe that technique that turns into that dish. Maybe you have to be clever and be like, all right, we can do this at Nicosi where we know we're only serve 20 of them at a time, 40 a night. That's manageable. But if we were to serve it at Kanji that does, 400, 500 covers, probably not going to work. But at least not the way I described that roll of that sweet potato. But the idea of taking this specific sweet potato that has this enough residual starch and sugar to get this texture, I could say bake off sheets of it and use it on top of a tartare or a crisp, or make a play on a millefeuille with it on a pastry side, right? There's adaptations. So great concept technique work shouldn't create one dish. It should create a crap ton of dishes, right? Like I've talked about them before, but Somni, Aitor is probably the best at this I've ever seen in my life. When he finds a concept technique that is of value, he doesn't make just one dish on it, run it for a while, and then retire it. He makes iteration after iteration after iteration. He finds his voice that way. That's why his food is so compelling. He's dialed in. He knows exactly who he is. He knows exactly what he wants to get out of the food. He knows what he wants you to get out of the food. And he's constantly tweaking that part of it. That's so freaking cool to me. Yeah. Now, if you're doing high cover counts, maybe that final dish isn't the element that's most important, but that technique is, right? Like show at Kanji for New Year's Eve, they were doing a coconut mousse, coconut air, right?
Yeah, sure.
Foam, I hate that term, but
bubbles.
Air. The technique is called air, not foam, right? It's important. The distinction. Language is important. Right? he was like, hey, I want to do this. Like, how do I do it? Do I use egg white? Do I use whatever? I'm like, Poppy, here's the ratio. Here's the guide. This is what you need. That's a pretty high-end technique to take a sucrose esters, make an emulsion, bubble that, get all these really fine airs. Something like coconut's actually kind of tough because of the fat content. And it worked. And he did it for however many, 400 people or whatever they served on New Year's Eve, right? Just because you're doing high volume doesn't mean you can't have that great R&D part.
I think maybe I want to think about it a little bit of a different way, though. How do you have this technique or this recipe or whatever? How do you then scale it to the person who doesn't know how to do it at all? So I'm talking about the entry level line cook that is now doesn't even know the difference between an air and a foam because they didn't even know that even existed.
Right.
So they're super green. How do you scale some of these techniques to some of the more novices in a training program?
Yeah. Development in training is important, right? Like, and this is definitely an advantage that we have as a restaurant group.
Yeah, because specifically around mentorship, because I'm sure there's a big mentorship component of how do you take a green cook, because we were all there at one point.
Yeah, no, totally.
How do you go from there to there?
So this is awesome because actually there's a chef that we have at Emmer and Rye that reminds me so much of how I was when I was a young chef as well. Like Ruben used to call me Jimmy Neutron because I was the kid reading all the books, being like, oh, I want to try this technique. I want to do this. And he's like, whoa, right? You need to learn this part first, right? You want to make an air out of this rostit or this escabeche. Like, no, you need to learn how to make the rostit first, right? Which is like a Catalan chicken jus, essentially, right? That stuff's important, right? Like the basics are important, right? Like people ask me, like, what's your favorite book? Is it like, should I buy the Bouilly book? I'm like, no, go buy Jacques Pepin first.
Yeah.
Go buy Le Russe Gastronomique first. Because if you don't know all that stuff, you're not going to get this other stuff, right? It's just not going to happen, right? If you don't have Sabayon ratios off the top of your head, you don't know what to look for, you don't know what your temperature ranges are, you're going to have a hard time cooking the stuff that I'm going to ask you to cook, right? So the beauty that we have in our group is that we have number one mini restaurants, like 11 restaurants plus Pullman Market. So if you're hungry, you want to learn how to cook, maybe you're starting in one of the QSRs at Pullman Market and you're learning a proper roast chicken, or you're learning how to make chicken stock in the back. And they make it at, hundreds of liters at a time, right? Because we only get in whole animals. So you got to do something with all that, all those bones, right? They're learning how to render tallow, right? The chef that manages that team was a former chef de cuisine at Emmer and Rye. He's been with Kevin for over 10 years. He knows how to identify talent. He's the guy that's saying, all right, this person has been with us for 6 months and he's kicking ass. Or, hey, chef, this chef over here, she keeps asking about Nicosi. You should talk to her about it, right? Like, that's the part that is not just mentorship, but it's like getting them excited about it, right? It's like that Thomas Keller idea of like, if you can't get excited about peeling carrots, you're not going to make it over here, right? And it's one of those things that like part of the mentorship is, get your team excited about peeling carrots and be like, this is the best way that we know to do this, and see how they run with it. Because chances are maybe they'll learn a better way. Maybe they'll show us something, right? Getting them through those different departments, right? Like you can't run Emmer and Rye if you haven't slung a lot of pasta, right? If you don't love sourdough bread, right? Alexa Mejia, who's, in my opinion, probably one of the greatest, if not the best chefs running a kitchen in Austin, Texas. She can make bread in her sleep. She can, work with pasta. She does it all, right? And she's not just doing that because she's that good. She's showing teammates that some of them have only been cooking for 6 months, a year. She's showing them the things that she's learned, right? Like that mentorship, that apprenticeship, however you want to call it, massive. That doesn't go away. Even if for as heady as that conversation was earlier, you still need that, right? Like at the end of the day, at least especially for us, 11 restaurants, if we're not in the talent development business as much as we are the restaurant business, man, who's going to run these restaurants, Who's going to staff these restaurants? And like, you know, like Kevin talked when he was here with you, right? Like, well, what happens when like this crop of amazing talent you have ages out, right? Like, we don't want restaurants that are going to be around for until Kevin retires. We want restaurants that are going to continue to have impact in our community over and over, generation and generation.
Yeah.
So seeing the next ones come up, right? Like Maximiliano, the cook that I was thinking about from Emmer and Rye, you know, his first few weeks, he was that kind of chef that was like, oh, chef, what if we tried this? Chef, what if you tried this? I'm like, yeah, dude, all right. You know, don't get in the weeds first on garde manger, and then, you know, we can talk about, you know, what ideas you have for the menu, right? But the fact of the matter is now, I am so excited to taste when he has a new dish. Because number one, I know he's put in the work. Number two, I know it's going to be delicious. Number three, I know he's going to take my feedback and not have an ego about it. He's going to learn. He's going to adjust, and his food is going to get better. If you're not all about that as a chef, why are you a chef?
So I have an interesting question for you, because you've been a chef at different types of restaurants. So minibar, Key,
Sure.
Emmer and Rye, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple. Emma was the
Carpenter's
Hall, right?
Yeah.
And all of these have a completely different style
Sure.
of cooking. Not just completely different style of cooking, but a completely different style of service.
Yeah.
Probably ethos around the menu. When you go to each one as the head chef, do you take the same approach, or do you what do the kids say today? Do you code switch? Right? I think that's what the slang is.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, again, like if I'm going up to one of the QSRs at Pullman Market, right, and I see somebody toasting bread for a sandwich or something like that, right, and I'm like, all right, there's definitely a better way to do that. I want to go give them some advice, right? I'm not going to be like, hey, what's your concept technique search to this young cook?
Right.
I'm going to be like, hey, like, you know, what are you smelling? Like, what colors are you looking for? I want to appeal to their sense of taste memory, right? Like, if they can learn what this is supposed to smell like, what it sound like when it's on the griddle, all those things that we consider experience or intuition as a chef, people are like, oh, you have natural talents or you have this intuition as a cook. Bullshit. You learn it, right? And you need somebody to teach you what it is.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, all right, if you're toasting this bread and you're making 30 sandwiches, probably the best advice I could give a cook like that, I'm like, make one, let's eat it. What do you love about this? Right? Meeting chefs where they are through that way, then they're going to be like, oh, cool. I'm going to pay attention when I'm toasting the bread, and I'm going to get it to this golden brown every single time. You're giving them quality criteria.
Yeah.
But you're connecting it to something that's visceral, something that they create a memory based out of, right? So the next time I go to that sandwich, I get a sandwich, I'm like, chef, this is a fucking good sandwich.
Yeah.
Right? Then they capture that win, right? That gives them buy-in.
Yeah. When I would train people, I would always, try and hit one of their senses, because, we're all either, as auditory,
Totally.
Kinesthetic, visual learners. So what you're talking about, eat the sandwich. What do you taste? Do you taste this?
Yeah.
Okay, close your eyes. Now look at it,
Yeah.
smell it. Like if you could connect with as many of those senses as possible,
For sure.
the greater likelihood of them retaining it. But what's really interesting about this, I saw this this video, because I don't know, I've been talking to people. It's like time just seems to go by faster now. It's like it's already
It's
2026.
relative.
It's already like what happened. And there's this mundane thing that they talk about where when you do mundane things every day and you repeat them every day, your brain starts deleting it because it's not new. But when you introduce something new, your brain will retain it because it's almost like it breaks the pattern.
Or I mean, and let me challenge a little bit. Or you create ritual with that mundane.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's why we have things like meditation. That's why people pray. That's what part of that power is, that you create a ritual out of something that is mundane. Right. It may be mundane to take time out of your day and just think about what you're grateful for. Right. That's not a super complicated thing. It's a beautiful thing to do.
Sure.
But if you create a certain time, you create an environment for it, you light a candle, you go to a specific place, right? That's ritual. That gives it meaning, right? Even if it's just for you, right? And if you can share that with people, that's really awesome. But you know what? I mean, what I love about food is, food's mundane. You have to eat. You have to pick something to eat. But food is also transcendent, right? It can take you back to a memory from when you're a child. It can take you to a new place you've never been.
You time travel with it. Yeah.
You totally can, right?
Yeah,
Time truly is relative, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, so, like hot take, right? Like we don't allow phones at Nicosi. When we opened Nicosi, that pissed people off, right? And it's not because we don't want people to see the dishes. It's because we want to create a bit of ritual. Like it's theater. We're putting a lot of work into this. We want you to be present here, right? It is not something mundane, right? Like the world is so complex. There's so much nuance to it. We're all carrying around all these different things. And it's like tapping into like what Tavel probably talked about, I think when he was on your podcast, is like, I don't want people to have to bring that trauma with them when they sit down at our table, right? I want them to leave that outside. And part of that for us is like, that's why we ask them to put the phones away, because we want you here with us, right? Creating that sense memories, massive.
And this is the point that I'm trying to make, is that they're so used to having their phone with them all the time, everywhere that they go and eat.
Sure.
And they're used to snapping a photo and texting and not paying attention to what's in front of them. But the second that you remove the phone, it introduces it's like rewiring the brain, because this is new information.
Yeah.
I have to be fully present. And how that applies to the mundane task of making a sandwich every day. And you've been making it, and you've been over toasting the bread, and you've been making it for the last 3 years, over toasting the bread. And then here comes chef and says, hey, hold on, make it, taste it. Now let's toast a little less, taste it again.
Yeah.
It's a new memory, and it rewires you to, it's almost like a pattern disruptor for new growth. I mean, it's like a branch in the learning spectrum.
It's neuroplasticity.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like the idea, like, chefs like have reputations of being stuck in their ways. Like, I mean, one of the reasons I think I actually like working at multiple different restaurants, and I think, Kevin and Tavel and I are similar in this, and most of our chefs are, is like, we want that challenge, all right? Like we don't want that stagnation. Even if we were doing the same thing over and over again, right? Like the cacio e pepe at Emmer hasn't changed 10 years, right? Since Kevin first came up with it. When to do a cacio e pepe perfectly, you kind of got to think of it like the first time. Because every time you're giving it that flop, every time you're doing twirl, in the back of your head, you're like, oh shit, don't fuck it up. I love that about cooking. Yeah. It's like when you're making a beurre blanc. It's like, all right, granted, you and I can make a beurre blanc in our sleep, or we could break a beurre blanc and fix it. But I love that intensity of being in a kitchen where it's like, you don't want to mess it up. You don't want to break the sauce. Yeah. Like that thing of like that push and anxiety, I love it. Yeah. It's what makes it mundane, and it's something that I think is cool. Yeah, it's almost like you need both. You need both. You need the ritual, you need the repetition, you need the reps to get good at something. But when you've been doing something for so long, you might not notice until someone comes and says, "Hey, just do this," and then all of a sudden, boom. Yeah. I mean, new opportunities. It's being in the moment. It's being open. It's being honest. It's all the things that we want people to do in their actual lives too. Yeah, right? It's cooking the sweet potato a little too long. Yeah, right. It's like boom. Now all of a sudden we have a whole new thing. Yeah, mess up a bunch. Yeah, right. Like, what young chef doesn't mess up a lot? It's funny. One of the things that I think that we do well is the culinary community, and I think it's getting better, because I think when we were coming up, it was siloed a little bit. There was still, it was very cliquey, and you're from this clique or you're from that clique. Sure. And there was information that was retained with certain camps and certain groups. I think it's much more transparent. I think, open source recipes, information exchange, it's there. Yeah. And what I think is really cool for people that don't know is going back, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, we were at Emmer, and it was International Chef's Day. Oh, yeah? It was. The day that Ron was there? Yeah. So I'm thinking about, like, you were there. Yeah. Kevin was there. Ron was there. Yeah. I was there. Gabe was there. Jacob was there. Dan Kennedy was there. And it's like, and then afterwards, everyone just goes out there and shoots the shit, talks. Yeah, it was awesome. And I love that now, because I feel like the chef community is so much more open and inviting and inclusive Sure.
than it's probably ever been. You know,
Yeah.
I think, and it'll only get better. But I love that.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think there was, and maybe it's a part of like competition as chefs. Like, I mean, I know definitely when I was on the East Coast, there was that like they're that type of restaurant, we're this type of restaurant, right? I think there's always mutual respect generally, right? But I think I agree with you. I feel like now, and maybe it is just because of how open things are, social media, whatever, it's like, you don't cook anything like me. And maybe there's a part of me that's like, looks down on you, but I don't think that's really the case anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's more like, you don't cook like me, and I can still celebrate the fact that you don't cook like me.
Right.
And it's not a challenge to how good my cooking is.
Yes.
Or how I do it. I'll say in DC, like, and we talked about Barton, like, I feel like DC was kind of always that way. Like, because it was such a tight-knit community. I mean, DC is relatively small. I feel like everybody was cool with each other, right? Like, competitive chefs, yeah, we were competitive, but those were my friends, right? Aaron Silverman at Pineapple and Pearl, like, we would just shoot the shit together.
Yeah.
Dude's awesome. I do think chefs are more and more that way, and that's one of the reasons why, like, at least at Emmer and Rye, our guest chef series, we called it Breaking Bread, because we didn't want it to be a sales driver for us. We wanted it to be like, if the heart of what this restaurant is bread and pasta, sharing meals together, making people feel good, we want to do that with people that we respect. Sometimes they're our friends, sometimes they were our mentors, right? Like Alexa and Bryce cooking together in the same kitchen was epic. Right. Having Ron come in from the Great White North was epic, right? Like, nobody had ever cooked like that in that kitchen. Ron did, and it was awesome. It was great. Those are experiences that are as much for our guests as they are for our teams.
It's like you're bringing the stage to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
I mean,
cool.
that's what Four Hands or like collab dinners, I think that's the magic of it. I remember all the ones we did at Minibar.
Yeah.
Like, I have never eaten at Central, but when Virgilio and his team came to Minibar for a week, my God, there were like literally every hour some new thing either we tasted or happened that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And on top of that, some of the sweetest human beings you'll ever meet in your life. Like, biggest chef crush I've probably ever had on my life, Virgilio Martinez. I mean, the guy's just beautiful. Those experiences are awesome. And it's always surprising how open people are to doing that.
Yeah.
Right? Minibar is a tiny little restaurant, right? Granted, 2 stars, and Jose's Jose, but like, the Albert Adria doesn't have to schlep all the way over here from Spain to do a guest chef dinner. Yeah. He's doing it because he's hoping he's going to learn something or see something, right? Because he's always learning. That's his mindset, right? And Jose wants to show off the team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The idea of the competition that we have as chefs, and I was talking with someone about this the other day, because I was thinking back to when 10 years ago, and I had this chef that I was my rival, not because they did anything. It was just they
like
were my
market competitor.
They were like, who's the best, me or them? And of course, in my mind, I thought they're not as good as me, and so I would diminish them in conversation, thinking, but I'm like, the only reason I would speak that way, and I understand this now, the only reason I would speak that way about that person was because I respected them.
Right.
They were that good. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about them.
Why would you waste your time on them?
Why would I waste my time thinking about someone that I didn't respect?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that then. I viewed it as like, oh, they're the competition, I got to do better. But no, the reason they made me better, they pushed me. The fact that they were good made me better. And a lot of times we look at our competition in a negative aspect. Right. But it's like, no, it's great. It's great. They push you. They make you better. You respect them. You have to speak with reverence and love for your biggest rivals, because that's what they are. Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be thinking about it.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, like, I'll say for me, like we said, we're competitive, but like, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever thought of having a rival.
Yeah.
In the culinary world, like, I just never thought of it that way. Even when we were at Key, right? Like, Emmer and Rye was like probably like the next new cool kid on the block, right? Like,
right.
That inherently probably could have been our competition. But then you meet someone like Tavel, you meet someone like Kevin, and you're like, how are you not impressed by these two individuals?
Yeah.
Right? Like if you meet and hang out with Tavel and you don't kind of fall in love, you got to check yourself.
Right.
If you talk to Kevin Fink about the restaurant industry and you're not in awe of just how freaking clever he is, then man, I feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like Kevin and I kind of started cooking at the same time. Granted, he's been in restaurants a lot longer because he's like grew up in it. But like there are times I look at Kevin, I'm just like, how fucking smart are you?
Yeah.
Right? Like I've been doing this for a long time. Like we talked about, like I've worked in Michelin-star restaurants. I still consider Kevin and Tavel my mentors, co-collaborators, right? And yeah, we're competitive with each other.
Yeah.
Right? You put Kevin Fink in a kitchen, he's going to try to outcook you.
Yeah.
And chances are he's going to win.
Yeah.
Right? That's fun.
Yeah.
Those are fun days.
It's funny. When you were at Key, I remember I ate there. What did I have? I still remember it. I want to say it was, I might be wrong. I think it was gnocchi, but it had like a blood sauce with it.
Oh, yeah, the Dinuguan.
So good.
Yeah. I mean, that was all Paul Key. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about an amazing cook, right? Like, hands down, one of the most talented chefs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right?
Super
Like,
talented. Creative.
Yeah, we did a proper gnocchi parisien over Dinuguan, pork's blood sauce, right?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I still remember that dish,
Yeah.
almost 15 years ago.
Yeah, you're not the only one. People talk about bring that back up a lot.
Yeah, it's a great dish. It's funny. Here's a little anecdotal story for people that have listened to a couple of the different chefs that have been on the podcast. Is in 2014, 15-ish, we went and had cigars and drinks, and you were there. Diego was there, Kevin was there, I was there, and maybe one other chef was there. But it's funny because Kevin and Diego didn't know each other. That's when they met. That was at that event that we had put on together. That was the first time I met you. But it's funny because you're in rooms 10 years ago with people, and then you don't realize where these people are going. I mean, so many of those stories.
And again, I mean, that's the power of food, right? Like you make connections.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but when you travel, like chances are I can go to a city and there's a chef that I know, maybe I just did an event with years ago that can be like, hey, I'm in town. Where should I go eat? They're going to show you their town. Because like any one of us, like, you know, if Jose Andrés wants to come or Aitor or Ruben to San Antonio, I'm going to take time out of my day to make sure they eat really well in my town. Right? Like we're proud of who we are in our food communities. That's a really freaking cool thing. And when you embrace that, it means that doors start to open for you. Yeah. Right? Like we talked about Michelin already, but if you had asked me like, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, all right, are there Michelin star restaurants in Texas? I would have said, well, no, right? If you had said, hey, you're going to be working with Kevin and Tavel and this big restaurant group with all of these chefs, a bunch of them who I've worked for before, right? Like Zanil, our service director, worked with us at Key. Danny Parada worked with us at Key. It's one of these things where it's like, it is a small enough community still to where it's like, you if you're honest with people, you straight shoot with people, like you put the best of you out there, right? Like it's going to pay off, right?
Yeah.
Like our food community, to me, we all know it's hard, brutally hard sometimes. I like to think we get a hell of a lot out of it. And to me, it's like having nights like that. Yeah. Right? Like where you can smoke a cigar with a friend, talk about food, and maybe you only do that once a year or once every 5 years. Still meaningful. Yeah. Those are great memories.
Yeah. So, it's funny. I look at all the great memories that I've had with all the great chefs and all my friends. And it's like, man, some of the best memories are just sitting down and talking. That's it. Yeah. Nothing special. It's like some good food, sit down, talk. Maybe it's a cigar. Maybe it's a glass of whiskey or whatever. But chef, wrapping up the show. Sure. A couple of questions. If you had a Mount Rushmore of chefs out there.
Oh, wow.
Who's on Mount Rushmore?
Wow. Gosh. Ferran and Albert Adria, 1,000%.
Count as one? Or is that two?
I think Albert is his own in his own right.
Okay.
You know, like, I mean, there's, you know, they're brothers, but Albert is
stands on his own too.
Stands on his own feet, 100%. So those two for me are just massively important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would say José Andrés has to be on there for me personally. Mm-hmm. Jacques Pepin, right? An American master.
That's 4, right?
That's 4. Is that it? Is that my limit?
Yeah. You can throw one extra if you want.
And I'm gonna throw in one that maybe some of your listeners haven't heard of, but somebody that like I met a few years ago that I'm just incredibly in awe of, and his name is Diego Guerrero in Madrid. He's got a restaurant called D-Stage, and he is like rock and roll spirit, Spanish food, not stuffy, but puts out beautiful artistic food. I wish everybody knew his cooking. I mean, he's obviously very popular in Europe, but I wish more Americans knew his food. Yeah. Because every time I see him post things, like I'm just in awe and inspired. And even though I've known him a lot less than I'd say those other Mount Rushmores, he's probably one of the people that I go to the most to think about. Yeah. And Tavel will be happy because Albert counts as my pastry chef on that list, right?
Okay,
since I do a lot of pastry these days.
Yeah, fair enough. If you had a chef out there, like a bucket list chef that you'd want to eat their food, that you'd want them to cook for you, who would it be?
Will Goldfarb.
Who's that?
Room for Dessert in Bali, Ubud.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The first chef ever to do a dessert only tasting menu.
Yeah.
And he and one of my mentors, Ruben Garcia, were really good friends at Pouilly. And I have never actually eaten his food. And it's like, you know, there's only so many Michelin starter high-end dessert tasting menus in the world. Yeah. And I feel like I have to give props to somebody that's like has been doing it for 20 years, you know?
Right.
I want to try that.
Excellent.
Or I would love to have him come to Nicosi and cook with us.
If you had to give advice to all the cooks and chefs out there in the world, what's one thing that we could do today to improve our cooking now?
Beyond just taste. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, right? And I'm sure I'm not unique in saying that as a chef, but failure is a myth, right? Mastery is repetition. Getting good at creativity. I know he's talked a lot about creativity. That only comes from putting up ideas and ideas and ideas. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Shoot your shot. Shoot 1,000 shots. Just, you got to put in the work, right? Like, that was a lot of advice, I think, in one little nugget. But
no, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, Chef, this has been fun. I appreciate you giving us a peek inside your creative process and how your mind was brilliant.
Okay,
I loved it. So I think a lot of people will learn from this. For people that want to follow along and follow you, where can people find you?
On Instagram, I'm normally on there. I don't remember what my handle, JLF Hernandez is my handle there. But most days I'm at Nicosi or Isidore in Pullman Market. This coming year, I'll be spending a lot of time at Nicosi. So you can normally find me there.
Awesome, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's fun.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to support the show, you know what to do. Make sure you leave 5 stars, nothing less than 5 stars. If you listen on Apple, Spotify, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, comment, let me know what you think of this episode. Go to chefspsa.com where you get everything, the books, the merch. Go buy a book, go buy a t-shirt, go buy a hoodie, go buy this hat. Beautiful and nice. Go get it. If you want early access to episodes, subscribe to my Substack. I'm going to link them in the show notes. We'll see you next week. Hit the porno music.
No Andre in the kitchen, mixing, dropping chef knowledge, no fiction. Stirring up the beats, heating up the session. Listen close, classes in session.